Any of its ingredients.
This is a CBS News Special Report. I'm Scott Pelley. We're breaking in now because there is breaking news from San Bernardino, California. It appears that there has been a mass shooting at a social services building there. We are told there are multiple casualties. There are varying reports of more than a dozen people having been shot, but we do not know what their status or their wounds might be at this point. Our chief legal correspondent, Jan Crawford, has been talking to law enforcement sources. She's in our Washington newsroom. Jan, what do you know so far?
Well, Scott, the latest information that we have, and this has just been confirmed within the last couple minutes from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office, is that there are 1 to 3 suspects that they are actively searching for at the moment, and there are multiple victims. They're not saying how many people have been injured, but they are saying that there are multiple victims. Now, this broke about half an hour ago with an announcement from the San Bernardino County officials that there was an active shooter in the area. It is believed to be a medical complex for people with disabilities. But Scott, that is all we know at this point. We have, of course, reached out to the Justice Department and sources in California in law enforcement. But right now, what we can confirm, multiple victims and 1 to 3 suspects authorities are searching for.
Now, again, this story is breaking right now in San Bernardino, California, which is east of Los Angeles. The address that we have been given by the authorities corresponds with a building that's called the Inland Regional Center. It looks like about a 4 or 5 story office building, and that, as Jan said, is apparently a center where the state of California provides services, family services of one kind or another, particularly for the developmentally disabled. Now, we do not know where in the building this shooting has occurred. There's very little that we do know other than that police and fire and other resources are being poured into the area, and residents are being told to stay away because police believe that there is at least one shooter who is still active and has not been taken into custody or neutralized at this point. Again, this is San Bernardino, California. You see there it is just north of Interstate 10. And that is east of Los Angeles. These first reports, as Jan mentioned, came in about 30 minutes ago. Multiple people shot. We are just watching these live pictures coming in now, part of the police response to this active shooter situation. Multiple people shot. We've been told that it is something over a dozen. We do not know the conditions of those people or why any of this is occurring. There have been reports of more than one gunman, but I will tell you, based on experience, that is very often the case. Witnesses report more than one gunman when there's actually only one gunman, but we do not know for sure. Apparently, there's a witness there that our KCBS camera crew was speaking with. This is a live picture from our KCBS helicopter, which is en route to the scene. San Bernardino, California, east of Los Angeles. Police and fire department sources are reporting an active shooter situation with multiple people wounded. This is the Inland Regional Center. That's the name of the building, and we are given to understand this is a place where the state of California provides social services, particularly for people with developmental disabilities. We have Rick Garcia of KCBS on the telephone with us right now. Rick, what are you hearing?
Well, Scott, we're confirming that as many as 20 people have been injured in the shooting. At this point, we are told that a gunman is still at large. We do not know if that means multiple gunmen, but we are told that at least one gunman is at large. 20 victims so far in this shooting. You had mentioned it is the Inland Regional Center in San Bernardino. That's about 60 miles east of Los Angeles. It is a center that handles social services and, of course, mental health. And needless to say, the folks out in that part of the city are really on edge in light of what happened in Colorado not too long ago.
Rick Garcia of KCBS, our anchor man there in Los Angeles. Rick was referring to what happened in Colorado a few days ago, which of course was a active shooter situation. In that case, at a Planned Parenthood clinic, 3 people were killed and several others were wounded. It now seems to be happening again at a place called the Inland Regional Center. You see it right there. It's about a 5-story office building. Police are converging on it now. Our understanding at the moment is that there is a gunman on the loose, and as Rick Garcia mentioned, there are reports of about 20 people having been wounded. But it's a maxim of journalism that first reports are always wrong, so we can be sure that those numbers are going to change in one way or another as we get more information. We have not been able to get a reporter to the scene because police have established a large cordon around the Inland Regional Center, and they're not letting any civilians into that area right now, owing to the fact that they believe that the gunman is still active. This is a picture from our Channel 2 helicopter in Los Angeles making its way to San Bernardino now, which is part of the Inland Empire there in California, east of Los Angeles. Jan Crawford in our Washington newsroom, what more are you hearing in these early moments?
Well, I think, what you said is so important to keep in mind, because what we're hearing now, obviously, are initial reports. We don't have anyone on the ground. What we have been able to confirm, again, from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office, is that there are multiple victims, and they are looking for as many as 1 to 3 suspects. But as you said, that could change, and sometimes people believe that they see 2, 3 people, when in fact it's just 1. And it's also important, I think, to point out that we are not suggesting that this was a Planned Parenthood clinic. In fact, it is not believed to be one, but those facilities have been on a heightened state of alert since the shooting on Friday, which took the lives of 3 people. So whenever you hear that there is another healthcare facility, as word initially had broken in this case, I think many people had initially assumed perhaps that may have been the target. There is no indication that that is the target. This is just a terrible coincidence that now appears coming on the heels of that terrible shooting on Friday.
Jan Crawford in our Washington newsroom. We're looking at a few stills there from the Inland Regional Center. Now we're looking at a map of the area. You can see it's a large, low-rise office building with a very large parking lot all around it there. And the stills pictures that we have coming in, that's the Inland Regional Center, where the address of where the shooting is occurring. Heavy police presence, as you can see there, moving into the area. The helicopter live shot has now been established, and we see a number of people walking out with their hands up. Now, that is pretty typical for one of these situations when a number of civilians are being evacuated from a scene. The police like to see their hands up until they get them out beyond the police cordon. We are watching these pictures live as you are watching them with us, and we're trying to make sense of the scene. It looks like a number of people being led away. Again, they have their hands up for the safety of the police officers. There's no reason to think these people are involved in any way. They're just evacuees being taken out of the Inland Regional Center. That is the building on the upper right-hand side of the picture. These people, again, can be presumed to be civilians who've been evacuated from the shooting scene. Our Los Angeles television station, KCBS, is covering this as we speak, and we're going to listen in.
You have the folks shelter in place. They keep everybody in the building, but if there's some threat to them, they want to get them out. And you can see how big this complex is.
It's huge.
And you were mentioning, Josh, we all watch this from afar. It's what we do here in the news business. We go in as observers. We report back to our viewers what we're looking at. I can only imagine what it's like to be in a situation like this. You're at work,
terrifying.
and suddenly you hear shots being fired, and you're in an office. You don't know what to do, whether you should leave, you should get out. And here you are on a regular work day being escorted outside your office building with your hands up with your coworkers, it has to be just frightening.
And as I said, unfortunately, it is the state of affairs now. I mean, that's our normal right now, where we have to have this kind of training. We have to be ready for this for anybody that works in an office space like this, where you have conflict. And it doesn't necessarily even have conflict, because these situations are random, and they, unfortunately, nobody is immune to it. And that's why there's all that kind of training. And I do mention that we just went through our own training here, in our own workspace, and you want to think, gosh, that's never going to happen. I love all the people I work with, and you just never know. And I'm sure these folks came to work today thinking it's going to be a normal day at work, and unfortunately now they're coming out with their hands up, and they've got this kind of situation, and there are people injured possibly.
Yeah. In case you're joining us, you're watching breaking news happening in San Bernardino. We're getting reports of a shooting that's happened at a workplace. Perhaps it's an office building along the 1300 block of South Waterman Avenue. This is the Inland Regional Center, which houses a social services department. We are getting reports that the gunman, perhaps gunman or gunman, is on the loose. San Bernardino.
We've been listening into the coverage of our CBS station, KCBS in Los Angeles. This is a live picture over San Bernardino, California, where police and fire officials have told us there is an active shooter situation. Many people have been wounded, apparently. The numbers we are not certain of yet, but it's something over a dozen. We've heard as many as 20 have been wounded. We do not know their conditions. Police are acting on this scene as if the shooter himself or herself was still active. They have asked residents and businesses to evacuate around the area. We have seen a number of people who appear to be office workers in that office building. Those two white roofs on the right-hand side of the screen is the address that has been given for this shooting. And we have seen a number of office workers coming out with their hands up, being escorted away by the police. A massive police presence there now. This is San Bernardino, east of Los Angeles. If you're just joining us, there are reports of an active shooter and a mass shooting at a building that is called the Inland Regional Center, which is apparently a place that the state of California provides social services to people with disabilities, with mental disabilities. This is part of the area where the fire department has set up triage in order to treat the patients who would be coming presumably out of the building. That's the building on the upper right-hand side, those two buildings that mirror each other. That is the address that we've been given for this active shooter situation. You can see that the freeway to the left has been cut off and turned over completely to emergency vehicles. Rick Garcia of KCBS is joining us now. Rick, what are you hearing?
Well, Scott, again, the latest from San Bernardino fire officials is at least 20 victims have been involved in the shooting at the Inland Regional Center. This is in San Bernardino, California. It's a little more than an hour drive east of Los Angeles. We have just moments ago, we had an opportunity to see people being led out of that building with their hands up in the air, which, as you know, is a standard procedure. When police are still looking for a gunman, they think at least one gunman is still at large, and when they start ushering folks out of those office buildings, they want to be sure that they've got innocent folks there and that a shooter might not be mixed up with them. So we did see some people being let out, Scott, with their hands up in the air out of that building.
What we're also seeing here, Rick, live on this helicopter picture is a bunch of emergency responders who are not actively involved. A lot of stretchers, a lot of ambulances that are not moving, and that is sometimes a bad sign at these scenes if there are not a lot of people whose lives can be saved. But there has been an enormous influx of police and fire and ambulance into this area. We're now watching a number of other people being evacuated. Again, police are telling us that the shooter may be still at large. We're now looking at a number of police officers with weapons drawn, escorting, it appears, more people away.